Welcome back to part 2 of 13 original movies you didn't see this decade.
I've seen Predator, so is that good enough?
There's a few more out there.
Commando?
That too.
Predator? Did I say Predator yet?
You've been touched by the fist of God, for Christ's sake. What number you want to wear?
Take the number 69. It's hilarious.
Is that number taken?
My brother, he wants to offer you a contract.
You're not here to play hockey. You're here to fight.
This is one step under the big league.
No glory holes here tonight.
Hi, I'm Doug Ladd. 2 rules.
Man, stay away from my fucking Percocets. And do you have any fucking Percocets?
All right.
The number 5 movie you missed from this decade is Goon from 2011. It's surprising to me that a sports movie made it onto my list. I'm just as shocked as you are. But man, I had so much fun. Even though this movie has a lot of hockey in the movie, there's a lot of hockey. It is not necessarily about a team that's like has to go to the finals and all this stuff. It's more of a hero's journey of this one character. Actually, the main character, played by Seann William Scott, isn't even good at hockey. He can barely skate. What he is good at is punching people in the face really hard. And that's why they bring him on. Because, if you didn't know, in hockey, you have your star players, who get all the goals, and they're really quick and sexy and sleek. But then you also have this other side called the enforcers, or the goons. And these guys are just there to protect their star player from getting hit by rival team people, or to hit the shit out of the rival team members like star player. So that's their whole deal, is just getting into fights and hitting people and protecting their own people. T-Bone, our director, he plays hockey, so he's the one who got me to watch it.
Who's T-Bone?
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
We have a director?
He's right over there. He's right over there.
Who are you pointing to?
Anyways, moving on.
Doug, I dig hockey players. The violence, the beer, all of it.
Boy popped a cherry tonight.
Seann William Scott's character is so great because he has such a duality to him that he is an amazing fighter, okay? He's an amazing fighter. But he's like the gentlest soul, he just has the gentlest little nicest soul, and he's just like such a gentleman.
Yes, thank you for asking.
He's just so adorable. And man, that guy gets cuter with age, all right? Who would have thought that Stifler would be super fucking hot right now? But he totally is. Good for you, man. Aging well.
The boss break. He is the master.
You have my respect. If ever there comes a time when it gets down to you and me, I will lay you the fuck out, kid.
This has all the elements of a sports masterpiece.
Ready?
Yes, thank you for asking.
This is about to get ugly.
Another thing that I really love about this movie is the bad guy. Liev Schreiber plays the goon on the opposite team that Seann William Scott has to end up, they've got a thing. He's like, Seann William Scott is the new guy. He's getting ready to retire. So they want to face off together, and all the fans want him to face off. But I love the way that they portray his character. Like, he's not a bad guy in the movie. They have an honest portrayal of this guy who's done this his whole life and what it feels like to have to retire. And Seann William Scott really admires Liev Schreiber's character. They even have a point in the bar where they sit down and he sees him and they talk, and he's like, I know we're gonna fight, our big game's coming up, I'm gonna beat the fuck out of you. And he's like, awesome, I can't wait. He's so excited to fight this other dude. And I will say that the ending sequence between the two of them is really brutal. It was really hard for me to watch. That's how violent it gets.
I just saw Green Inferno this weekend.
I know, I watch a lot of horror movies, but the thing was the characters are so sweet that I don't want to see them get hurt, and then a lot of fisticuffs. It's pretty brutal. It's some hardcore hockey violence.
Number 6, you light him up.
is on Netflix. That's where I found it. Apparently, they're trying to make Goon 2, so I'll be on the lookout for that. And also, if you're interested in learning more about the realities of being a goon, there is a documentary that I've seen on Netflix called The Last Gladiators. It focuses on Chris Knuckles Nyland, who was an enforcer and had a career. Although, I will say that this documentary is way more depressing and the movie is way more fun.
That's why I got my finger almost bit off. I ended up getting 8 stitches. But I'm not going down.
The movie was a really interesting look into the realities of being an athlete, especially one whose job is to get punched in the face every game. It was funny, they were interviewing the guy Chris, and he was just like, yeah, towards the end, it's like you just don't want to get punched in the face again, but you just know that going out there, that like that's what's going to happen. And it's kind of sad because he does get hooked on painkillers and has some problems with that, and then also trying to adjust to life after sports, because that's the thing that's so sad for me watching documentaries about athletes is because their careers are cut so short. I mean, they're cut off when they're like in their 30s, and then what do you do with the rest of your life, you know? So it's very interesting. It's a little depressing, but I recommend it anyways. Definitely watch Goon, though. That one's not depressing. It's fun.
You think about her, okay? Tomorrow, 2:30.
Okay. Yeah, I hope to see you there tomorrow at 2:30.
Thanks, T. Hockey movies. He said to me that behind Slapshot, this is his favorite hockey movie of all time. It's no fooling around.
Negotiations over. The sentence is death.
The sixth movie you haven't seen this decade is Dredd, all the way from 2012. What a treat. Carl Urban, based off of the comic book. There's also a Sylvester Stallone one that happened in the 90s. I saw it. It's not that great.
I just thought that movie was going to be like the Sylvester Stallone movie, so I didn't see it.
Yeah, no, this was like way better, okay? Like, first of all, big ups to Carl Urban for never taking the helmet off, because in the comic books, Dredd never takes his helmet off. Like, all you see is his mouth. So, like, and for actors, a lot of actors don't want to do a role like that. They want their face to be visible, so they have more, like, visibility, you know, and get more jobs. But Carl Urban was rad enough to be like, no, fuck it. I'm gonna wear the helmet the whole time with a scowl on my face. And he did it, and it was fucking rad.
What makes it so rad?
Okay, so this movie came out the same year as The Raid, and coincidentally, they have very similar premises, where you have this ultra-violent city, all right, the Mega City 1, and you have Dredd, and he's taking a rookie out, okay? This is her last chance to kind of prove that she could be a judge. In the future, you are judge, jury, and execution, so if they send you out, like, you can just shoot someone in the face, and that's it. They take care of it. There's no trials. It's the fucking crazy future, all right? There's no time for that. So, yeah, so they go to Peachtree's, gets locked down. They're locked in a building filled with, like, all sorts of crazy criminals that are all trying to kill these two judges, and they have to somehow survive. And one of them is a side judge. It's super rad. I love this movie. There's so much fun violence in it. Lena Headey is also in it, Cersei Lannister, although her character's okay. But I really loved the drug in it, slow-mo. It kind of made me, I didn't understand why they were trying to shut down the slow-mo production, to be honest. It kind of made me, this movie made me want to do drugs, but, you know, that's neither here nor there. You know, I don't know. Well, I mean, it's just like, it slows time down, you know, so you have these, like, really cool shots, you know, and it's like, what's the harm in that? That seems like a rad drug, whatever. Unfortunately, this movie fucking bombed, because you guys didn't go out and see it. I did. I was there at the theater. In fact, I was the only one in the theater. It was just me and T-Bone. I can confirm that for a fact. And even though I enjoyed having the theater to myself, I was super sad because we'll never see a Dredd 2. They've been trying to get in production. It just doesn't look like it's going to happen. And I'm super bummed about it. So you blew it, America. We could have had a ton of awesome Dredd movies. But I guess not. Let's do Transformers 10. Let's do that instead. Because nobody's tired of that. So you blew it, America. We could have had a ton of awesome Dredd movies, but I guess not. The number 7 movie that you haven't seen is Cabin in the Woods, all the way from 2012. This movie is one where going into this, you kind of have to be a lover of horror movies, and you have to have seen a lot of horror movies, at least the classics, to really enjoy this movie, because it is a love letter to the horror genre. I remember when I saw the trailer for this, I was not impressed, because the trailer just looks like a normal, like, some kids go to the woods and bad shit happens, you know, and I was like, whatever, we've all seen it, we've all done it. But I heard that it was so much more than that, and it's also done by, produced and partly written by Joss Whedon. The director, it was partially written and directed by Drew Goddard. Those two make a wonderful team. They've worked together on Angel and Buffy and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, in Joss we trust. So I went, and I fucking loved this movie. This is one of my favorite movies of 2012. I was laughing so hard at this movie. You have the teenagers, they're going on the little kind of spring break cabin trip, and it sets it up like your average horror movie, but you kind of, I know I'm not gonna spoil anything, but it's definitely more than meets the eye. The stoner character was one of my absolute favorites. I loved him, and not to spoil too many things, but just keep an eye out for the merman. You know what I'm saying? Fun fact, this movie had the funniest titles. I laughed out loud when the titles came up, so just go ahead, just watch it. I believe that this is on Netflix right now. But also feel free to buy it on Blu-ray. It's totally worth it. It's one of those ones that you can watch it again and again. It's not something that you watch once and it's like, oh, whatever. It's a really fun movie to put on in the background while you're cleaning your house, whatever, you know, have a sleepover. But of course, this is true of most of the movies I'm talking about today. This movie kind of reminds me of Tucker and Dale versus Evil, with the fact that it's kind of like a meta self-aware movie that kind of breaks fourth wall situations in certain ways. So yeah, Cabin in the Woods. Check it out.
In the future, time travel is outlawed, used only in secret by the largest criminal organizations. When they need someone gone and they want to erase any trace of the target ever existing, they use specialized assassins like me, called loopers.
The number 8 movie you haven't seen is Looper from 2012. We've got Bruce Willis and Joseph Gordon-Levitt in some kind of weird Bruce Willis makeup, but you get used to it. It takes a minute. It's a little weird at first. But this is one of my favorite science fiction movies that's come out. It's been so much fun. The thing about Looper is there's time travel involved. And anytime you have time travel involved in a movie, shenanigans are going to happen, okay? So the thing that I like about this movie is that it sets up its own rules for time travel and sticks to those rules. And as long as you stick to your own shenanigan rules, it's fine, okay? And that's what they do. So in this movie, in the kind of near future, you have these guys called loopers, where in 30 years in the future, when organized crime wants to get rid of somebody, they teleport them back in time where there's somebody who just, a looper, who shoots them in the head, and then they get rid of the bodies. And that's how they get rid of the bodies, is they get rid of them in the past. But then after like 30 years of being paid to do this, then you have to be the one who goes back in time, the looper, and they close the loop and you're shot in the head and you die. And so, fuck, this is a lot of stuff already.
I'm confused.
Whatever, just watch the movie, okay? Like, it's got time travel, it's slightly in the future, it's science fiction, it's fun. Bruce Willis is great in it. Side note, the director and writer of this movie, Rian Johnson, is also going to be doing Star Wars Episode 8. So if you want to become familiar with his work, definitely check this out. Out of all the movies on my list, this is probably the most successful, the one you probably have seen. But for those of you who haven't, I would say definitely check it out. It's an awesome science fiction movie. I like, one thing that I do like that's both in Dredd and in Looper is that in the future, like, people start getting, like, psychic powers a little bit, Like, I love that idea, because, like, that's obviously what's going to happen. Like, give it 100 years, like, your great-grandkids are going to start having weird psychic powers.
I forgot about the mutants.
Yeah, you can, like, levitate a quarter. But, like, people just use it to try to get laid and stuff. Like, it's really funny. It's a very realistic use of psi powers. Side note, most important thing that I want you to take away from this whole experience is do not pirate these movies. The whole reason that amazing movies aren't getting made is because people just go fund Transformers 4 and then they go pirate all these other movies and then they never, and it sucks. So here's the thing that a lot of people don't realize. When you go to the box office and you give them your money, you are doing more than just entertaining yourself for the evening. You're funding art, and you're funding and dictating what's going to be coming out next. So if we only go to see Transformer 4s, that's all you're going to see. If you just pirate stuff that you hear about later, then, those directors and those movies are just going to continue to dry up and evaporate into nothing. And we're only stuck with tentpole movies. There's no middle ground movies. And then we'll never get to make a movie. So.
Pirating movies doesn't hurt anybody. It's free because it's easy.
Yeah, I got a secret for you guys. It's not free to make a movie, and so it shouldn't be free to watch one.
But it's easy to make a movie, right?
No.
You just do it in like a day or two,
It's
right?
not free or easy. So that's it for part 2 of 13 original movies you haven't seen this decade. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Tumblr. This list is a personal list. It's some of my personal favorites. I didn't get every original amazing movie. I just compiled a small one because we don't have 2 hours to go over everything, because there are a lot of amazing original movies that have not been out there. Also, I have excluded movies that like award season movies, I've excluded them. Gonna kind of keep it on the movies that didn't get a bunch of nominations for anything. So, except in my heart. We'll be back.